You're just tuning into the show for the first time, maybe the first couple of times, and you're wondering, why do these guys just get together at the beginning of the show? They don't announce themselves. They don't say who they are. They don't say what this show even is. They just pop in here with this lounge music on and just yammer about nothing. Maybe about the Hornets, sometimes not. Well, this is the Locked On Hornets Lounge. This is where we relax, take a breath, maybe wait for our co-host to call in. That was a tough one last night. I am going to see Star Wars tonight to cleanse my palate, but I don't know if I'll see a bigger explosion in tonight's featured presentation than I did last night at the end of the first quarter going into the second quarter. The Houston Rockets are majestic. They are beautiful. They are playing the game in a different kind of way. Even, I think, it's even stranger than when we first saw the Golden State Warriors reinvent the game a little bit. I think this is the team that Daryl Morey envisioned when he came up with Morey Ball. This is the final evolution, the final manifestation of Morey Ball, and it was put on full display. But I am going to see Star Wars tonight, so seriously, no spoilers. At this point, I have managed to stay away from any spoilers. So I'm going to be very limited with my social media this morning. I want to try to, and I don't watch trailers, by the way, anymore. Everybody gets excited about the trailers, not me. No, sir. No, ma'am. Why? Because nowadays trailers lie to you. It used to be trailers would reveal the entire movie. That wasn't so great. You could watch a trailer, it would be a 10-minute trailer, and you'd have the movie pretty much down. And then they got shorter and shorter and shorter, and then someone realized, hey, let's just put a bunch of the stuff that we didn't use in the film that, taken out of context, would make this movie seem very exciting. So I saw one trailer, and I don't believe that any of that footage is in the movie. Trailers lie. We don't. We talk about Hornets and we tell the truth. Let's get started.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
This is Locked On Hornets, your daily podcast on the Charlotte Hornets and the NBA. We're coming to you live on YouTube, live on Twitter. We're trying that out, so if hopefully it's on. Hopefully you're seeing us there on twitter.com/Locked On Hornets. I'm your host, Doug Branson. I cover the Hornets for FanRag Sports, and we've got a fantastic new website, by the way, lockedonhornets.com, in association with our friends from FanRag Sports. So please check that out. Nick Denning, who comes on this show often, is doing our buzzworthy column. He's keeping you up to date with everything that you need to know about the Charlotte Hornets, links, stuff that you really want to check out there on lockedonhornets.com. Also, this episode is brought to you by MyBookie. MyBookie.ag is the website. It's the place to go for serious sports bettors. We're going to tell you more about it here in a moment, and a special offer from MyBookie, so you want to stick around for that. Also, we've got T-shirts on tpublic.com. You can still get some T-shirts, some mugs, some sweaters that help support this show, and you can get them in time for Christmas, so buy one for yourself. Treat yourself this Christmas to a gift that will go to help support this show. Okay, let's dig into this thing. Let's dig into this game against the Rockets. The Hornets losing 108-96, and that ding means that my friend, my co-host, David Walker, has joined us.
What's up, guys?
You were considering skipping this show. I feel like that's.
I just decided to catch up on a few of those late game threes, and they finally hit some. So then I was going to tune in.
I feel like you seriously were like, I don't know if I can talk about what I saw.
What's there to talk about?
There's lots to talk about.
Okay.
Always good. You want to come on and say, listen, there's nothing to talk about. Just walk away, close your computer screens. No, there's
Go
plenty.
back to sleep.
There's plenty to talk about from this game. But the Hornets do lose 108-96. They fall to 10-17 on the season, 2 of 11 on the road. Look, you can't take a lot away from this game in terms of, what does it mean in terms of wins and losses? And, is this going to signal something for the future for the Hornets? Because the Rockets are an amazing offensive team. Like, this is not a unique performance by the Houston Rockets. They came in on a 10-0 win streak since Chris Paul's return. They've been outscoring opponents by more than 17 points per game. So you sort of saw this coming. But at the same time, David, they got worked so early and so thoroughly that it almost felt worse than if they had sort of hung in there, made some runs, and then in the third quarter, the Houston Rockets would have put on this blitz. But the blitz was coming.
Oh, yeah. It definitely felt worse, man. And I can't believe we didn't touch on this yesterday. But the biggest fear that you had to have going into this game was once the bench unit came in, everything would go to hell. And, wow, did it really? I mean, the bench of the Houston Rockets, they weren't even going. They weren't even getting going yet in that 25 to nothing run. And then they really poured it on. I mean, watching this bench unit for the Hornets try and keep up with the likes of Eric Gordon, Chris Paul at times, even PJ Tucker, Ryan. I mean, it was just way too much, and the Hornets were ill-equipped to deal with it, man.
Well, that's just it, David. The Rockets can keep either Chris Paul or James Harden on the floor at all times.
Harden barely played.
Yeah, because
every time he was on the bench.
And Chris Paul is playing so well right now. I was looking at some of his per 36 numbers since his return, and it's near 24 and 18, I think. 24 points per game, 18 assists. So he's playing on another level, and he gets to play with that bench unit. And that's the thing. Like, even when the Rockets go to their second unit, they still have a lot of three-point shooting. When the Hornets go to their second unit, they have even less three-point shooting, even less ball movement. And on top of that, at the end of that first quarter going into the second quarter, they weren't making layups either. And you saw the Rockets, what they can do because they are so fast, they are so effective with their shooting and effective with their transition game, that the Hornets missed layups might as well have been, I got it, might as well have been half-court turnovers. You have to make your layups. You have to hit your bunnies against a team like the Rockets because they are so effective at getting into transition, and the Hornets did not do a good enough job at all of getting back and getting on these shooters at the end of the first quarter because they started the game so well. That's part of what was disheartening about this game. They started so well, and you thought, oh, maybe they can be competitive.
Yeah.
But the run came early, and the Hornets could not recover. You know what this game? Oh, we may have just lost David, and that causes something funky to happen on the live video feed. You're seeing two of me right now, which I don't think is an upgrade over one of me and one of David at all. This is the other thing that this game did worry me in a sense in terms of the future, in that the Hornets, after giving you what Kemba Walker called a glimpse of what they could be against Oklahoma City, over 50% from beyond the arc, that probably wasn't sustainable, but they took more than 25 three-point attempts. They looked for a second like a modern NBA offense, and then everything regressed against the Houston Rockets. And when you got to see these two teams side by side, I think it really highlighted the difference in offensive approaches in Charlotte and in Houston. Houston has fully committed to this three-point revolution that the Hornets, that the NBA is going through right now, and they're doing it very effectively. The Hornets are still, trying to feed Dwight Howard, and they're not hitting their shots, not hitting open shots, not really running enough pick and roll or ball movement to get open shots from beyond the arc. And you saw it in this one. What was the final tally from beyond the arc? 4 of 21, 19% from three for the Charlotte Hornets. Just absolutely not going to cut it. The uniforms were stuck in the 1990s, and the offense for the Charlotte Hornets stuck in the 1990s. And look, Howard played well. Final one for Howard was 26 points, 18 rebounds. Can't ask for much more from Dwight. But I think the question is, are they asking too much of Dwight Howard? Are they feeding Dwight Howard too much instead of taking 3-point shots? I think that's a legitimate question for an offense that only attempts 21 3-pointers in today's modern NBA. All right, holiday cash, you need it, and I know where to get it. MyBookie is the place to score serious cash on your sports predictions. You know what the holidays mean, right? Parties, gifts, spending. It also means there's a lot of football, basketball, and hockey games that you can score big on every day. And you got to play where the pros play on mybookie.ag. You can play the money line, side, or total. MyBookie is your hookup for all of your betting needs and offers super fast payouts when you win. Let me let you in on a little secret. Where you're betting at is just as important as who you're betting on. That's why I always tell people to go to my favorite betting site, mybookie.ag. MyBookie has been in the business for years. Their reputation is rock solid. They do 100% cash bonuses. So off the bat, you're making money for doing nothing. And they have the fastest payout. Seriously, you can get your winnings in just 2 business days. And they have a new mobile site that makes wagering on the go super easy. Join now and MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus, but you have to use our promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA to activate the offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
Hey, Doug. Sorry.
No problem, David. Welcome back.
Jeez Louise.
So I was just musing, David, on how different the two offenses looked between Charlotte and Houston, and how Houston is moving in a direction that you're seeing the best teams move towards in terms of, not taking mid-range shots, only exclusively taking shots from beyond the arc, getting out into transition, getting easy looks from there, and then also you look at Clint Capella versus Dwight Howard. Clint Capella is averaging, their games are similar, right? They're exclusively interior offensive players who also offer you interior defense. But Clint Capella, 24 minutes per game this season, 17% usage. And then you have Dwight Howard getting 30 minutes per game, and his usage almost the most on the team, 24.9% for Dwight Howard. And you're just seeing two offensive philosophies, one that's resulted in a 22-4 record, best record in the NBA, and another that I think is a big part of the Hornets' 10-17 record.
Yeah, Capella's got shooters around him, as you mentioned, too. So
that helps.
Yeah, that certainly covered up a lot of issues, which you said the other day as well. I mean, Howard, had a good game, he's playing well, but it's a little too much usage, and especially if you're going to hit – well, they end up hitting 4 threes, but basically they hit 1 3 during the portion of the game that was actually, real. And you could debate how long that happened, but I think they hit a couple late threes by Monk. But yeah, man, it's just too much dependence on Dwight Howard, too much going through him, and just absolutely not enough help from anywhere else. Hubie, again, the master Hubie last night during the broadcast, said they basically needed Nick Batum, Jeremy Lamb, Frank Kaminsky, all to have big games on top of Howard and Kemba having their usual solid games. And, one of those things happened, basically. Kemba had a couple of nice moments, but it was all Dwight Howard, and that's probably not going to make it happen in today's game.
Kemba Walker, 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. Nick Batum, 1 of 5 in 34 minutes of play, 4 of 10 from the field for Nick Batum, 9 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 turnovers. David, he obviously spoken out about the elbow injury. limiting him, not allowing him to play his game. But, I mean, they can't get 9 points in 34 minutes and 1 of 5 shooting from beyond the arc from Nick Batum.
And 9 rebounds.
While Jeremy Lamb goes back to the bench and scores 9 points, 2 of 7 from the field, 0 of 1 from beyond the arc. And Jeremy Lamb, when he went back to the bench, seemed to kind of regain his hero ball, backing guys down, taking turnaround jump shots, setting up his own ISO play, not doing the things that the offense needs.
Not seeing guys either.
Exactly. Not moving the basketball. So I just think there's a big question. If Nick Batum's not healthy enough, he was doubtful for a while and then upgraded to probable on game day and then played and then scored 9 points in 34 minutes and couldn't hit outside shots. Suddenly there's a question about whether if Nick Batum's not healthy enough to give you what you need offensively, then maybe don't play him.
He's clearly hurt, man. You could see him even kicking his legs out on some of those early jumpers. Like, his legs aren't even underneath him at this point, and the elbows certainly bother him. Yeah, he had a couple shots late, but I mean, they got to look at something, Doug. What else are they going to do at this point? We've seen what they've had. You thought Lamb could sustain some of that play, and early on he did, but over the last little stretch here, he's really dropped off, especially from 3. And that second unit is a effing disaster. I don't know if anything's going to solve that. Maybe you have to just do whatever you can to make it passable. Whoever's on there, the ball movement sucks. They don't do anything effectively. They can't stop anyone. So, I mean, I really don't see the point in pretending it's a defensive effort out there. I don't know what you do, but maybe you look at putting Batum with the second unit a little more, give Lamb a few more minutes with the starters. And you don't have to do it. You don't have to start him, right? I mean, you can make that switch, or you can play him more with the starters as the game goes on, I guess. But, man,
it's tough. It's tough. You don't want to overreact too much again about losing a double-digit basketball game to a team in the Houston Rockets that is playing the best basketball in the NBA, right? But at the same time, what worries me from this game is that it shined a light on what I think are systemic problems with their ability to create the kind of shots offensively that lead to really good looks and makes. And some of this comes down to make or miss too. Look, I mean, Kemba Walker did not make his 3-point shots as well. So Frank Kaminsky, Marvin Williams 0 of 3, and he's been effective. So you have to play. You have to play great offense against great offensive teams.
They couldn't be more wide open on some of these shots, Doug, especially NBA wide open. I mean, these are open shots. At some point, somebody's got to hit one. It doesn't matter, what's being drawn up or what results in them getting those looks or who's out there. Like, these are open looks for a lot of these guys. They're in the NBA, and they just don't hit them consistently enough. Same thing I said after the Warriors game. It amplifies exactly who they are. They can mask some of it against lesser opponents, but against these high-throttle, high-powered offenses, they don't stand a chance.
I just got done doing a hit on the wake-up call on ESPN 730, and they asked me, my guys, BMW, Bobby, Molly, and Walker, and they asked me about Donovan Mitchell and how it felt to watch this guy that the Hornets had an opportunity to draft in Utah, and 17.8 points per game. But look at those minutes, David. I'm putting it up on the screen now. I don't know if you can see it or not, but in the past 3 games, 37 minutes, 37 minutes, 35 minutes, and last night against, and by the way, 4 straight losses for the Utah Jazz, but he's getting big minutes and a lot of shots, 26 field goal attempts in last night's game against Chicago, 32 points, 1 of 7 from beyond the arc. So there's good and there's bad with Donovan Mitchell, but I mean, when you see that, it makes you want to play. When you see 17.8 points per game, when you see all of the steals that he's racking up, it makes you want to play a little bit of the sad music. 32 points against the Bulls last night.
Yeah, and we love Donovan. I mean, that's the one guy in the last 25 years that I can really hang my hat on, saying this guy's going to be good in the NBA, and he is now. Not usually my strong suit, but we fell in love with Donovan through the draft process, and I felt surely that he was going to land here in Charlotte. And when Malik Monk fell, that was the pick, and I was thrilled with that. There are a couple of things you mentioned. They're feeding him the ball. They lost Gordon Hayward. They are telling him you have to be the guy. You have to do it. He's doing it. I think he's doing it at a level that no one could have predicted on the offensive end, though, to be honest with you. Like that was he was in charge of the offense at times at Louisville, but in no way did they think he was going to be able to shoot this well, score this well in the NBA. The defense is probably going to be there, but he's doing things I don't think anyone expected him to do this soon. So kudos to Donovan Mitchell. I look forward to watching him, as he goes along. Thank goodness he's in the West, I guess.
All right, David, let's update everyone on the draft.com challenge that we did yesterday. It was Hornets and Rockets only, except for the last pick, and you won. 201, 166. I can't win these things. I'm telling you, man. You're taking my money.
You know why?
Why?
Because cheating never pays. I'm just kidding.
Oh, it didn't. It didn't in this one. Even though Giannis played very well, I picked Lamb. Lamb had a disappointing game. Moving back to the bench, that was probably a mistake. Well, I didn't think that. I thought Lamb was going to start, so that I got a little ahead of myself there. And then Ryan Anderson continued his sort of slump that he's in over the past couple of games. And Clint Capella had a decent game. James Harden, 40 points there for me. But, yeah, I lose the draft.com challenge. If you want to play with us, make sure you go to draft.com and sign up today and download the draft app on iTunes, Android, whatever you use. Just search draft. Yeah.
One guy that may have helped either one of us, I think, is MKG. So he played pretty well on offense and defense last night. Second straight, pretty good offensive performance. It's encouraging to see. That's all.
Well, hey, listen. That's the thing, David. That's the thing. It's a difficult thing to talk about because Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, 8 of 12 from the field, 18 points. Dwight Howard, 26 points, 9 of 20 from the field, 8 of 11 from the free throw line. He's even hitting his free throws. So you look at those numbers and you go, hey, how are you going to criticize two players that were scoring efficiently and scoring well? And the answer is you're not going to criticize the individual players, but you have to criticize the scheme, the plan that is allowing Dwight Howard and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist to get 32 shots in this game and to attempt 0 3-pointers. It's just a cold, hard reality of where the NBA is, and you put those shots up against the shots that James Harden and Chris Paul and Ryan Anderson and Luke Mbamute before he got hurt and Trevor Ariza were taking, and you lose.
Yeah, you definitely lose, and they definitely lost last night. Do you take any solace in seeing those two guys do things that you say those guys have to play like this for this team to be successful?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a yes and thing, right? Like, yes, if they play like that and the Hornets shooters all shoot well, then the Hornets probably win that basketball game. But at the same time, they're not always going to be that effective. I will say, for Michael Kidd-Gilchrist's sake, his defense has improved dramatically year over year. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dwight Howard is inside the paint, and it allows Michael Kidd-Gilchrist to be more effective. But I was looking at his synergy numbers last night, and he is nearing the 75th percentile in terms of points per possession allowed. That's very, very good. And last season, he was in the 18th percentile. So he's playing a lot better defensively. That's encouraging. Dwight Howard is playing well offensively. That's encouraging. But when those things are happening and the Hornets are not shooting well from beyond the arc, and I'm not sure that those two things aren't linked. That's the problem. Like, I'm not sure that 20 attempts by Howard. I'm not sure that 20 attempts by Howard and a lot of attempts from beyond the arc can both happen at the same time. I'm just not sure that happens. I think it's a legitimate question to ask.
How many threes did they shoot last night?
21.
21. And how many they hit?
Quattro.
So, I mean, look, yeah, they got to shoot more threes, but who gives a damn if they shoot more threes if they don't make any? I mean,
2 of those were by Malik Monk late in the game. So those were it was really 2 makes, 2 legitimate makes in non-garbage time.
Yeah. I mean, you said it last night. Would you kick it back out? Would you give it back to them?
Yeah, it's tough. No, I'm not blaming Dwight Howard for taking 20 shots.
No. Yeah.
That they Silas said after the game that they didn't shoot a lot of threes because they were feeding Dwight Howard, who was playing effective. He's like the one, Dwight Howard and MKG were the 2 guys that you could count on for a bucket. It's just tough when you're playing a team that's shooting the best from beyond the arc of maybe any team in history. And again, I want to say it for the 1,000th time. That's why you don't take a lot from this game, but you do take a little bit of concern that this Hornets offense does not resemble an offense that, and I'll say this too, last 2 seasons, the Hornets have been top 10 in 3-point attempts, according to Cleaning the Glass.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not as if this has been the Hornets' MO in the Clifford era. No, this has been a dramatic shift away from the 3-point line and more towards getting to the line, getting to the free throw line, and getting looks for Dwight Howard in the interior. And they just have not done a great job of balancing those 2 things. Yeah. And I was going to say, I mean, at least the defense is starting to come around. I mean, that's the one thing that you can kind of hang your hat on in the future and say, well, the Hornets have a chance at maybe turning this thing around, is that the defense is not collapsing, but they got to get back on transition defense. I mean, they've got to figure that out. They can't lose these. Houston was always going to win this game, but this same kind of transition defense cost them against Los Angeles. So as they look ahead to Miami and Portland and the rest of this 4-game homestand, they have to figure some things out offensively and then stay true to themselves defensively. And that's really kind of my final look ahead as we prepare for Fun Friday. And I prepare to go to Star Wars. I'm excited. It's Star Wars Day.
Ooh, right. So let me ask you a quick question, though. The gang on 7:30, what was their temperature on this whole thing? Because that's what I was going to – in relation to, like, what you said, this is the Houston Rockets. They're not going to win this game. They're not going to win a 7-game series against the Rockets. So, like, you don't want to – and there's still some things to look forward to. I think the schedule certainly gets a lot better if their defense can round into form. Maybe they're not, used to playing with Dwight Howard in an effective way. Maybe they won't get there, but I'm just saying maybe, that does improve. But it feels like the outlook is the sky is not only falling, it's crushed us.
Yeah, again, I think that's the kind of thing you think after seeing Houston, this team that's going to be competing for an NBA championship, playing against the Charlotte Hornets, that I think at this point is fair to say, David, they will not be competing for an NBA championship. I think we can put that on the books for this season. But
not if they started today, no.
If the playoffs started today, no. So look, the Hornets have, I think, some issues to work out. They seemingly got them worked out against Oklahoma City. They played well in the fourth quarter. They shook some of those demons. They were shooting the ball effectively from outside. And then it's a lot like I just went to Topgolf here in Charlotte, and I was hitting the ball very well, hitting the targets, getting the ball up in the air. But I know in the back of my mind, when I go out on the course, it's not going to be the same. It's a whole different level of play. And that's the thing. When you play a team in Oklahoma City that is sort of falling apart mentally and can tend to take nights off on the defensive end, then some things start to open up for you, and then you play the Houston Rockets, and they play well on both ends of the floor, and they can run Chris Paul, a Hall of Famer, James Harden, Hall of Famer. They can run those guys out. One, both, it doesn't matter. They're going to dominate the floor when they're on the floor, and the Hornets, go to their second unit. They go to their full second unit, and that's not good. And Michael Carter Williams 21 minutes, or excuse me, only 13 minutes of play in this one. 0 of 2 from the field, 3 assists, 5 rebounds, no points. Backup point guard, not good enough right now.
No, God bless him. Yeah, it's a struggle. It's a big time struggle. Chris Paul, man, it's just unbelievable to watch him. I'm glad he wasn't gonna limp off into the sunset or something. Like, I'm glad he's healthy and back, and he was able to torch the Hornets last night. But that was just, they stood no chance. They stood no chance on that one, Doug. It's funny because you saw some of the OKC write-ups after that game, and it was like very similar to what we've seen from the Hornets prior to that. It's not time to panic, ... yet, but they have issues. So the Hornets definitely got a win in that game, which was good. But that team is just a total mess. The Hornets, I do think, are closer to rounding back into form, at least of what they could be on a positive slope. And with the Trailblazers coming into town, and like I said, the schedule does lighten up a little bit. They've got some things to improve. And let's not forget Steve Clifford's not there. Dwight mentioned during the game last night that when he comes back, he thinks the team will be better. We'll see. But, man, yeah, I don't know how much more we can break down that Houston game because, like you said, it's just a different level. It's just a different plane of team.
All right, so we're going to be back tomorrow for Fun Friday. We will preview Friday night's game against Miami at home and then Saturday night's game against the Portland Trailblazers. By the way, you still have a chance to win fourth-row seats to that Portland Trailblazers game. Go to @DiscoveringCLT on Instagram, and there are rules for entry on there, so get a chance to win floor seats, essentially, fourth-row seats, to see the Portland Trailblazers take on your Charlotte Hornets. All right, that'll do it for us here on this edition of Locked On Hornets. Enjoy Star Wars Day. I know I am. I'm going to stay off Twitter, stay away from the spoilers. Thanks so much for listening. Follow us on Twitter @Locked On Hornets. Follow us on Instagram @Locked On Hornets. And send us your Hornets questions and thoughts to buzzbuzz@lockedonhornets.com. Join us live on Twitter. Join us live on YouTube, youtube.com/Locked On Hornets mornings at 8 o'clock a.m. I'm Doug Branson. He's David Walker. Thanks so much for listening. Go Hornets. Go America. Let's swarm Charlotte.